Stepping into Lawbreakers for the first time, it's hard not to draw those inevitable comparisons to Overwatch. In fact, some parts of the game feel eerily familiar, especially with some of the abilities on its class-based character roster. However, familiarity ends there. Lawbreakers is a grower all of its own that underwhelms initially, but slowly unravels layers to reveal unique, memorable bouts of combat and a deep sense of depth and eureka moment learning curves. From the outside looking in, the game promotes a look of chaos in its frenetic movement and vertical gunfights. But with the controller in your hand, there's a feel of elegance and control that's not immediately apparent without it. Lawbreakers is essentially your standard 5 vs 5 hero shooter, but where it differs is that much of its joy comes from that fast-paced mobility, even during anti-gravity skirmishes that still manage to feel intentional and authoritative once mastered. Unfortunately, that mastery of control won't come straight away. Sure, you can step into the game and start shooting off things pretty readily, but it won't be until you have that defining moment of glory or pull off some acrobatic madness that Lawbreakers truly shines. With each class, you'll be battered to death repeatedly until that moment comes and your loadout and movement finally clicks. It really is a eureka moment when everything falls into place, and the developers should be commended on how well the nuances of each character have been designed. Lawbreakers' anti-gravity mechanics really set the game apart too, but again have a learning curve all of their own. There's something special about performing high-speed manoeuvres from tight ground spaces to then propel yourself into the air to continue the fight in a vertical space. Each class also handles that momentum differently, be it short directional teleport bursts or a Tarzan-esque energy rope swing from one platform to another. Once you get your head around each style of play, it can absolutely lead to exhilarating gunfights and empowering combinations.
Battery dropped.
It's a little disappointing then that the 18 playable characters, 9 classes and 7 maps aren't always as interesting as the gunplay itself. The Wraith class can speed slide along, slicing with a short sword and unleashing pistol fire, whilst the Enforcer dashes through locations ripping powerful assault rifle shots that can track during the ultimate ability, but they all do it within what feels like hollow shells and dull personas. Make no mistake, the game looks great and runs adequately, but it all blurs into something dangerously generic, where even the multitude of unlockable skins feel largely underwhelming. By itself, the blandness isn't a massive issue, but it does negate the excellent gunplay by making visual and audio cues sometimes difficult to decipher. The game has such a frantic nature, knowing what enemy class I was engaging was tough, as was hearing ultimate audio cues amidst a sea of gunfire and flying bodies. It's no doubt something that can be tweaked in the future, but in a competitive game of this type, it felt slightly detrimental to the experience as a whole. The game modes themselves certainly offer a bit more in the interest department. There's 5 modes: Turf War, Uplink, Occupy, Overcharge and Blitzball, which thanks to anti-gravity has a few more things in common with that Final Fantasy X minigame that you'd originally think. In Turf War, zones will lock down once captured, and once all 3 are locked, the game goes into an intermission before resetting, where you can go back to simply shooting the other team. It's actually quite novel and makes the approach to the game a little different. Uplink and Overcharge also share some similar qualities, in that you'll be capturing an object, taking it back to base and defending it until charged. The final mode, Blitzball, is as you'd expect. Grab the object in the centre of the map and pop it into the enemy zone to score. The pace and map design is perfectly balanced to keep things exciting, in ways that Destiny's similar mode named Rift could never quite capture. It's clear that the developers Boss Key have worked really hard to make sure Lawbreakers launches with a great foundation, and it does. Where the game falters in identity and lack of accessibility, it makes up for in excellent class depth and combat that's as rewarding as it is exciting. There'll no doubt be a push for esports, so balancing will continue to improve, and with some interesting modes and a ton of unlockables to grind for, there's definitely a game here worth recommending. If you can be patient with the learning curve, you'll be defying gravity and busting satisfying combos before you even know it.